Welcome so much, everyone. I think we give it a moment for as many people to join, and then we can get started. So welcome again for those that are joining. Please select your preferred language at the bottom of the screen. You will see the sign that's the globe. You can select English, French, Portuguese, Russian, or Spanish. And then as we go along, feel free to put any questions that you have on the chat, and we will try and address them as we go along. Welcome so much, everyone. My name is Lucy Maikweki, and I'm the technical lead for HIV prevention, focusing on PrEP and condom use. And we are delighted to have you all join this webinar. Today, we shall be focusing on demand creation for condom use. And we have a few countries that are going to be sharing their experiences with us. I'll be introducing our presenters very shortly. But the reason that we are focusing on this particular topic, it's because we know that condoms are an effective means of HIV prevention. And with expansion and focus on new prevention options, and with the reduction of funding on demand generation for HIV prevention, we've seen that there is need to maintain a high priority on condoms so that we can sustain the gains that we've had over the years. We know that demand creation is really a critical element of all HIV prevention methods, and especially condoms, especially because there's a cohort or a generation that never got to hear the first campaigns that went out on HIV prevention, when condoms were the only means of HIV prevention back then. And so now, with a more robust array of products for HIV prevention, there is greater and greater need to continue to sustain the gains by continuing to create demand for this especially new cohort that has never heard about HIV prevention methods. So the strategic initiative, which is a project that was started, was focusing on learning more about potentially low-cost innovations that use various channels. And they really wanted to specifically focus on social media and other feasible virtual channels. And how can we use these low-cost innovations in demand generation to really scale up and adapt in different contexts? And with that, they supported or funded for different countries. That's Uganda, Malawi, Zambia, and Mozambique. And demand generation or demand creation efforts were part of that support. And so we are going to be hearing experiences from these 4 countries. I'll begin by just introducing our panelists. We have Boniface Epoku from Uganda. He's a project management specialist with 14 years of experience in designing and implementing HIV and AIDS programs in Uganda, and is currently serving as a program lead for condom programming at Uganda's Ministry of Health, a role which he has been charged with providing overall stewardship at the national and subnational levels, ensuring condom stock monitoring, last mile distribution at community level, and also spearheading condom demand generation initiatives. We'll be hearing more from him on that. We'll also have Violet Mongeza from NAC, Zambia, and she'll be sharing a bit about herself as she presents. We have Francis Mabedi from Malawi. He's a HIV prevention and management officer, social behavior change communications lead for the national response to HIV and AIDS in Malawi, with 13 years technical experience in designing, implementing, and monitoring health communication interventions. So Francis will also be sharing with us their experiences in Malawi in implementing the demand generation for condom use. We also have Isidio Nantombo from Mozambique. I hope I've pronounced that right. Isidio works at the National AIDS Council in Mozambique and is currently the condom coordinator. And the challenges in Mozambique, and as well as in many other countries, are enormous. But most importantly is the focus too on demand generation for condom use. So Ezedio is going to be sharing with us more on that, on their experiences. So we are going to go right away and get started with our first presenter. Boniface Epoku is going to be talking about peer-led differentiated demand generation and linkage to last mile distribution. Welcome so much, Boniface.
Thank you very much, Lucy, for the introduction, and welcome everyone to this webinar. As clearly stated, Uganda participated in the condom SI, and one of the key areas for focus was really on demand generation. And we had to come up with an innovation, and our innovation really focused on peer-led differentiated demand generation and linkage to last mile distribution for condoms. Next slide, please. So where did we start from? So by 2018, we had a social marketing program which was implemented across the country. However, the program came to an end due to the funding landscape by then. So from 2018 up to 2021, we really didn't have any much robust demand generation for condoms happening. Whatever was happening, though, was really generalized. It was non-targeted, and there was no audience segmentation as well. So the information which was given was basically blanket. It wasn't targeting the key populations and the young people. And then we also realized, still due to the phase out of social marketing, we also noticed there was a big gap between the free-to-user condoms and then the commercial condoms. So we thought social marketing and demand generation would have bridged that gap. So we had to think across how do we make sure that condoms are available at community level. That's why the peer-led demand generation initiative came on board, basically to improve on program quality, to ensure there was equitable, people-centered, and messages are tailored to the needs of the different key populations. Next slide, please. Also, for this specific innovation challenge, our focus was, one, to increase on condom usage among sexually active young people, key populations, and the other priority populations. We also wanted to raise awareness about the triple protection effect of the condoms against STDs and unintended pregnancies. We also still realize we have a challenge with stigma for condoms, especially among young people. Clearly, as Lucy has stated, we have a new brand that is not so much knowledgeable on the benefits of a condom. So it also comes with stigma. So we also wanted to sort of like create that awareness and sort of like destigmatize condom use. And then, of course, we wanted to create a pool of advocates at community level who are able to support in providing information on condom use as well as supporting last mile distribution. So those were the key objectives of this campaign. Next slide. So in order to achieve those objectives, we had to do audience profiling, and specifically we focused on the young people out of school within Kampala, and we needed to know who is this young person, who is this Boniface as a young man, or this Annette as a young lady. So we realized the young person we're looking at for this campaign was a young person between 20 to 30 years. Of course, both male and female who are sexually active. Still within that category, we realize some are married, some are single, and then where are they? What work do they do? We realize most of them are bar attendants in lodges, hairdressers, barbershops, boda cyclists. If you visit Uganda, you most likely see a lot of motorcycle riders who sort of complement it as a trade to sort of earn some income. And then the focus for Kampala was basically one of the locations which has quite a high burden of key populations. and that is Kawempe Division. And those are the key areas where they are located: lodges, bars, betting houses, disco clubs, and hotels. So what really motivates them to use a condom? So one of the key issues, motivating factor we realized among them was, one, there was a challenge with access to condoms. And in order to address that, we made sure that condoms are accessible at use-friendly corners within the community setups that have been established. And we had to install condom dispensers whereby they're able to easily access condoms. Then we realized this particular category as well are young people who are heavily involved in digital consumption. They're on TikTok, they're on Facebook and all that. So we also had to come up with a product. We had to put some of the condoms within the virtual markets. In Uganda, we have Jumia, which is like an equivalent of Amazon, I would think, whereby the young people can easily order for a condom online. This one was basically for the commercial condoms. And then we also realized there was peer influence was really influencing condom use. So we also included a team of peers who would be able to reach out to their colleagues, both with condom messages, but as well as with the condoms themselves, both male and female, as well as the lobes. Next slide, please. So the other category are the young people in tertiary institutions. Still within Kawempe Division, we have Makerere University, which is the largest university in Uganda. And then we also have other tertiary institutions within. And still what influences them, still they're able to access condoms at places of convenience. We had the Makerere University, we had the condom dispensers installed in halls of residence whereby students are able to access condoms whenever they require, as well as the other tertiary institutions. Still, we also had to come up with a team of peers who are able to reach out to their fellow peers with condom messages, as well as distribute condoms. Still, social media plays a big role as well among the university students. And the virtual market still was another area where we're able to reach out to the university students as well. Jumia equally played a big role on that. Next slide. One of the other districts where we had this condom demand generation campaign implemented is Busia district. Busia is a border district between Uganda and Kenya, and there is a lot of transactional sex going on within that category. So we targeted still the young people, and what motivates them also, what we realized was condoms. They said condoms reduce pleasure, condoms have a bad smell. They said true love, trust, no need to use a condom. And how were they able to get condom information? Through radios and through peers as well. So in order to reach out to them, we had to make sure that we still engage a peer-to-peer approach to make sure that the peers are able to reach out to their own, and well as do the condom distribution and provide the messages. And then social media still played a key role. And then in the bars and lodges, we had to install condom dispensers, which we routinely, through the peers, we're able to have them refilled. Next slide, please. Uganda equally hosts one of the largest refugee community, I think, in sub-Saharan Africa. So it's quite a dynamic place to work in. And we realize there are quite a number of factors that are contributing to their poor condom use practices as well. One, women fear to ask their partner to use a condom. And most of these refugees come from very strong Muslim background. So using a condom is quite a taboo. And then there is within the refugee community, there is also abuse of alcohol. That also definitely affects the condom use practices as well. And then there also it's an assumption that condoms reduce pleasure. When you use a condom, you don't get maximum satisfaction Then, of course, within the refugee setting, there is also a perception of low risk for condom, low risk for HIV contraction. So those are all factors that affect really our use of condoms within the refugee settings. So we came up with the parameters of ensuring that information reach them. One, they are what we call internet hubs that have been established within the refugee settings. So we capitalized on that and made sure that we made condom messages be used within the internet hub. And then, of course, we used the digital media, Facebook, WhatsApp groups to be able to circulate the condom information. Next. So another category was the female sex workers, which also range within the category of 15 to 45 years, both male and female, and they are mostly found in hotels, working as waiters, lodge attendants, bartenders. Within the borders districts, you also have people who do a bit of smuggling of goods here and there, fisher folks, artisan miners, and all that. So those are the different categories that we're able to reach out to. And what really motivates them as well, yeah, they have some money, so they engage in live sex to earn a living. And to make sure that we're able to reach those different categories, we still had to employ a peer-to-peer approach to be able to take the information as well as distribute condoms. We're also able to install condom dispensers to make sure that condoms are really accessible at their community level, at the user point level. The issue of bad smell also came across, which more of was a myth, which needed to be dispelled out. So the peers still had to do a lot of more work on that as well. We realized this is a digital era. TikTok really plays a big influence, as well as others, Facebook, social media platforms as well. So we also capitalized on the virtual markets. We have Jumia in Uganda, as I had already stated, so where people can easily order condom and then they have it delivered to them. How do they access information? Mostly through radio and community audio towers in those different communities within Busia. Next slide, please. So how did we implement this campaign? So we basically embrace a collective approach whereby we did what we call co-creation sessions. We worked with different communities in Kampala, in Busia, and in Yumbe to come up with the key messages that needed to be disseminated. As you can see, that was one of the sessions, community members brainstorming on the campaign slogan that should be used. And they basically came up with the Get It On, Stay Safe campaign slogan, which we adopted as a country, and we are currently implementing it. Get It On, Stay Safe as our key campaign slogan for demand generation across the country. So through that, we're able to engage about 70 condom champions, referred to them as peers, which were able to reach about 11,000 young people with different messages as well. Through social media campaigns, we're able to reach about 600,000 individuals. Next slide, please. In terms of linkage to last mile distribution, demand generation, and last mile distribution, through the champions, we're able to deliver about close to 2 million condoms to the target population using the peer-to-peer approach. And we also did the GIS mapping of our hotspots, where we frequently went and distributed the condoms. And we had about 1,645 hotspots mapped in the 3 districts. We also had to collaborate with the private sector players to be able to support us deliver condoms. We have beer companies, as they're delivering the beer, we also ask them to go tag along with the condoms. So we had to be able to reach about 56 points with condoms through the beer transporters. So our approach is basically focused on a peer-to-peer distribution, and then we also capitalize on the virtual markets, as well as installation of condom dispensers at user pick points. Next slide, please. Okay, in terms of challenges, one of the key challenges that we realize, there is a perception that free-to-user condoms are not very effective, which is still a myth, especially within Kampala. And that's one area that really our peer educators had to do a lot of work to make sure that that information is dispelled. And then there was a very overwhelming need for condom dispensers at community level, which we're not able to satisfy, but that sort of informed our planning in GC7 that we have planned now to increase condom dispensers, to increase access at community level. Issues of stigma still among young people. Yes, the program was able to do some work to make sure that to change the perception, but there's still more work to do. And then the terrain as well in some of the resettlements for the refugees is quite distant and remote. And then you also had a gap in translation of some of the messages in some communities. So that somewhat affected the delivery of the information. Next slide, please. So overall, that is the success. We are targeted to reach about 2 million young people. And we're able to reach about 67%, about 1,300. And those are the different channels that we're able to utilize. As you can see, social media really played a big role. Close to about 50% of the young people were reached through social media, and then the other was definitely followed by radio, which is really popular here in Uganda. Next slide. So lessons learned, that is basically what I've just said. Social media really plays a key role in towards reaching young people and key populations with condom programming messages. And then, of course, you need to work with the communities as well. We realize we're able to work with the private sector, be able to deliver condoms to some of the remote places that we are not able to reach. So that is also key. Engagement with the private sector and civil society is key for sustainability of the condom program and last mile distribution as well as demand generation. Next slide. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Boniface. Very interesting presentation. And it's really great to see how you were able to really segment your audience and get a very good understanding of who they are and where they are. And I also liked how you were able to engage the private sector in the last mile distribution. So up next, we have Violet Mongeza from Zambia. She's going to be sharing their experiences around virtual demand generation for condom use. And I just want to request the participants, please go ahead and put your question in the chat. If you have any question, any comment, kindly remember that the chat is open and you can put your questions there. Welcome, Violet.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Violet. Welcome. Please go ahead.
Okay, so I think as we all understand, condoms do play a vital role in combating HIV and AIDS. And in Zambia, the condom uptake is very low. Hello?
Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. I'll jump right into it. So I'll take you through the first part of the presentation, and thereafter my colleague will take over the other part of the presentation. So as we know that condoms are very important in combating the spread of HIV and AIDS because they offer the triple protection, which is the protection against HIV, STIs, and also unwanted pregnancies. According to the statistics in Zambia, 35% of women and 54% of men were reported to be using condoms. And as a result of this, the National Comprehensive campaign strategy, condom strategy, emphasized that there was a need to increase the availability and also accessibility of condoms, especially among young people. So it's as a result that the National AIDS Council and operating partners with collaboration with the Ministry of Health implemented the social media-based condom campaign, which is known as the Strategic Condom Initiative Program. And this was done using 3 approaches. So under the National AIDS Council, this was done through the U-Report Facebook page, and through the SAT Zambia. SAT Zambia implemented the youth-led condom promotion project, and as well as Locate a Condom, which was implemented by Edutainment. Next slide, please. So the main objectives of the initiative was to increase the availability and accessibility of condoms, increase the demand for condoms, and also to provide a pilot that was a scalable youth-led and scalable innovation through social media initiatives, as well as the use of youth-friendly digital tools and apps. Next slide. Okay, so under the strategic condom initiative, the main aim was to expand the visibility of the last mile distribution via the social media campaign, and also to increase the interactive user experiences among young people. And this initiative was done in collaboration with the National AIDS Council, UNFP, and also BBC Media Action. The target audience for the initiative was 15 to 25 years, as these are the ones that are most prevalent with HIV and AIDS infections due to different social and behavioral practices. So the strategies that we employed to achieve this was, the first one, we looked at the methodical use of Facebook ads. So for every Facebook post that was posted on the social media platform, we looked at the acceptance among the user platform. This was done using the Zambia U-Report Facebook page, and would look at the type of content that was received by the young people, how that the type of interactions and reactions that content received. And based on the feedback that was seen from the organic posts, would then boost the pages so that we increase the audience using the social media platform. And apart from using a methodical way of Facebook ads, we also looked at the type of responses that would get from the posts that were shared. So for example, if we post a post that maybe is talking about female condoms, and we see that from the comments, a lot of people are asking questions, a lot of people maybe are not aware of what female condoms are, and just anything else that would notice out of the norm, then that would help us generate the next content to address the issues that would notice from the reactions that would receive. So this, I think, also helped us create content that was responsive to what the user wanted. The other strategy that we used was the influencer engagement. So what we did is we engaged influencers. We had long-term influencers that were engaged on a monthly basis, and we also had once-off influencers. These were just one-time influencers that would just create content once off. So the differentiation with these, for the monthly influencers, these influencers that would have, for example, a following larger than 500,000, maybe the type of content that they share on their Facebook page, and also the positive behavior that they portray, and also the type of users that follow them. And for the once-off influencers, these were also positive influencers that had a lower following, but then just so to encourage them and also increase our user reach, would use them and would also use it just as a means of promoting the upcoming influencers. So in terms of content sharing with the influencers, what we'd do to just ensure that we don't use their audience as well as our audience, so would do a collaborative type of sharing of content. simply means when we're sharing content, we'd either do a collaboration where we share at the same time, or they tag our page. And also for every post that was shared on the influencer page, they had to add a call to action and encourage the followers to follow the U-Report page, and also tag the page for each post that was shared. And then these posts were also shared at the same time, so that we avoid a situation where Facebook users may not come to our page because they may have already seen the content on a different page. So I think this actually helped us ensure that there was that spread of engagement and reach. The other thing we also did to encourage just user engagement on the page was the use of competitions and awards. So again, based on the feedback, based on the content that we were sharing, so after some time, we would then ask the users on Facebook to join the competition. So the competition would basically to see how they've learned, what they've learned, and how they're going to share. And I think this also helped us just see if the users and the followers of the page are actually understanding the type of content that we're sharing. Are they learning about condom use? Do they know the practices? So we'd have different competition types just so that we engage them, but then at the same time to just get their knowledge level. We also encourage the use of awards on the page. So for people that may have participated, didn't win, I think there were situations where we'd have our top fans that would participate in the competition, and because they've been interacting with the page, they would expect to win. So for the selection, the users themselves would choose the winner. But then to just as a consolation, to just encourage the people that may have participated but didn't win, so we'd also have top fan awards where would give them just talk time, maybe for as low as 100 kwacha, just so that we encourage them being online. And then also we recognize that for the users to interact on the Facebook page, there was the aspect of bundles, because most of the young people would tell you, I want to go on Facebook, but because they don't have bundles and whatnot. So it was not just a way of encouraging them and assisting where they were needed. So we also utilized digital mobilizers. So these were also young people that would encourage their friends on social media. So every post that was shared on our page was also shared on their page. They would invite their friends to like the page. So they were basically mobilizers on Facebook that would call their friends if there's a video that has been shared or any content that's been shared. These then would share within their friends and also just invite their friends to join the page. We also utilize the use of virtual events participation. So we would have live stream sessions where we would now use this opportunity to allow the users to ask questions where they were not clear. For example, we would have HIV and AIDS advocates talk about maybe their experiences, why it's important to use condoms. We would have some experts from the Condomize team that would come and talk about the importance of condoms and how the use of condoms, how to wear a condom, but just different questions that the young people would ask. So this was also a good initiative because it then encouraged the users on the platform to just ask questions and then clarify where they may not have been clear from the content. And then lastly, but not the least, we also were strategic with our content creation. So for every content that was created, we looked at what is it that resonates more with the young people. So we know that young people resonate more with maybe short videos, certain taglines, hashtags. So we would ensure that in every content that was created, all the content was youth-centric, meaning that it had to be fun, it had to be engaging, it had to be just short to ensure that we don't extend the attention span, and then also to ensure that we're still reaching the message that we want to put across. And apart from it being youth-centric, we were also, we ensured that there was quality assurance in every post. So we would have the National AIDS Council team, the knowledge management team that would vet through every content. So before content was actually posted on Facebook, would have a whole team go through it, ensure that it's putting the message that we want to put across, and also ensure that it's within the NAC standards, and it's also capturing the attention of the young people. So this also helped us to ensure that the content that was shared was of quality. We also looked at user sharing in every content, so would utilize the use of hashtags, and also to just have a call to action for every content that was shared. So, for example, would either encourage the young people after every post to share their content with their friends, or to go to their nearest youth-friendly space to access a condom, or to go to their nearest condom dispenser. Next slide, please. So these strategies helped us reach these results. As you can see, our targeted reach was 300,000, but because I think looking at the strategies we employed, we managed to reach 2.5 million by the end of the pilot project, and 1.4 million of these was the organic reach, which shows that the strategies that we're using were actually working. And also in terms of the follower, we were supposed to add about 10,000 new followers, and we exceeded that target, and were able to add 26,000 followers during the pilot program. Next slide, please. Okay, so the other initiative that was employed was the youth-led condom promotion initiative, and this was implemented by SAT Zambia. So the goal for this initiative was to ensure that young people, we increase the demand for condoms using digital spaces, and also connecting the demand to services at the last mile. The app that was used to generate this was the Youthwise app, and this app was updated daily with the community-generated content, different information on condoms, and also other SRH services was also shared on the platform. And we also used social media influencers to drive traffic on the Youthwise platform, and also to promote the use of condoms. Next slide, please. So the implementation strategy we used was, at the implementation of this program, we conducted a hotspot mapping where we also informed the community outreaches on what was happening and the goals for our project. And also we hosted service providers on the digital space just to ensure that there was the ease of sharing of information and communication among the service providers. So we'd have different service providers, those that were providing just information, providing condoms, and any other services that were needed. And we also had dedicated influencers, and also young people that were supported by the health professionals to ensure that they respond to any queries or questions on the platform. And also we were ensuring that these people were also available on the online platform. We utilized entertainment and peer-to-peer sensitization around the key issues, and most of these issues were live streamed, so that what was happening on the ground was also showcased on the social media platforms. The other thing that was we did was to just utilize the use of peer influencers that were acting as the youth connectors to the Youthwise platform. So these peer influencers were young people that some of them were already trained from the facilities, and they acted as youth connectors. So what they would do is they would encourage the peers in their communities, encourage their friends, Facebook friends, and also just friends within their neighborhoods to to participate on the Youthwise platform. We also utilized the use of Hangouts, and these were high traffic social media events where we would have social media influencers engage in a live audience with our users, but at the same time as attracting the social media audience to the Youthwise page. And this was a good way because we would also share, similar to what was done on the U-Report, we would share the content on 2 pages at the same time. I will now hand over to my colleague to take you on the next part. Thank you.
Yeah. Initiatives that were used under the Condom Strategic Initiative. One of the objectives for the Condom Strategic Initiative under the partnership of UNAIDS, UNFPA, but also Global Fund was to increase access to condoms and availability of condoms, mostly using community-led initiatives. So basically, we are looking at how do we make sure that condoms are more available in the spaces that are available in the communities than in the health facilities. So one of the innovations that was used on increasing demand, but also increasing access to condoms is what we call LOCO. So LOCO is an acronym which means locate a condom. And this is a application which basically connects a condom client or a sexual reproductive health commodity client to a service provider, but also to a delivery system. So this innovation was basically developed having in mind the audience of young people, adolescents, but also key populations, because this platform facilitates discrete delivery of sexual reproductive commodities. We all know that in most cases, one of the challenges that surrounds access to condoms is the stigma attached to it, where people would want to access condoms, but they think twice when I go to the pharmacy or when I go to the health facility, how do I access condoms?
Petros, I think you're breaking up. And I think you have five more minutes.
The socially marketed condoms, but also the free condoms. But in this case, I will speak more to free or public condoms. So through the pilot program, the local app was also used to create demand, because when people download and have this app on their phone, they can request for condoms. So it means when they request for condoms, the app is going to link them to the nearest provider. And then the arrangement is made for deliveries through a chat or a call that you make to the provider. So the app assisted to create demand for condoms, especially for discrete deliveries, but also the app facilitated deliveries, last mile distribution of condoms, because people were able to request for condoms, and the condoms are delivered to them at their doorstep or at their convenient place. The strategies that we use to make sure that local works on the Condom Strategic Initiative was that we also use innovative ways. We recruited mobile booth operators and taxi drivers as our key condom distributors and promoters. This was away from the traditional where most of us we know we use community health workers to distribute condoms, but we thought let's try a new way, an innovative way of distributing condoms. So we thought if a person walks to a mobile booth operator to request condoms or to access condoms, it would be easier for them than to walk to a facility or even to walk to a safe space. Mind you, mobile booth operators are found everywhere in town, mostly in urban areas. So it was easy for people to access condoms from these access points. But at the same time, we looked at taxi drivers as another convenient way of distributing condoms, because these are the people that mostly interact with patrons who come from drinking joints and other entertainment places. And they are also used in most cases by these patrons to go and buy condoms from them. So we thought we should put them into the ecosystem because they are also an important stakeholder. We also had another initiative for demand creation where we engaged DJs in various clubs. And these DJs would run what we call a condom hour on Fridays up to Saturdays, where they would talk about the app. They would assist people to they would sensitize, they would do sensitization about the app. They would also sensitize the availability of condoms within the dispensers that were placed in various hotspots, but also the access points where people can access condoms using local. Next slide, please.
Petros, if you don't mind, you have 2 minutes, so that you can be able to share everything that you have.
Yeah, I'm trying to run very quickly. So the results that we registered with using local and other initiatives under the Condom Strategic Initiative is we managed to distribute 57,807 condoms within 4 months within one town of Kawe, where the pilot for Condom Strategic Initiative was taking place. The app also managed to register about 2,922 users, which are accessing free condoms up to now through different access points, which are easily accessible in the district. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the other advantage is that the app provides real-time tracking, which is also good for inventory, because like I said, this app promotes demand-driven access to condoms. So when a person requests a condoms and the app connects you to a provider, when the condom is delivered, which is a system where the provider has to confirm that the condom was delivered, then the system picks real-time how many condoms have been delivered, if that condom has been delivered. So the dashboard that you are seeing there is just to show you how the app reports. You can see the number of clients that are on the app, the number of condoms that were delivered, but also the age statistics. So the app also gives you information in terms of who is requesting more condoms, in terms of age, in terms of gender, and in terms of other important indicators. Next, please. Yeah, so these are just some of the creatives that we're using for demand creation, mostly in drinking joints that were being used by DJs. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the achievements, yes, the analytics obtained from these 3 apps have actually proven that we have helped to increase access to condoms, especially amongst young people. The campaigns also mostly on social media have improved engagement with the target group, which are mostly adolescents and young people. I think you can see the numbers there for the condoms that have been distributed through various campaigns. Next, please. Both with your Youthwise and the Condom Strategic Initiative. So these are the results I think I already spoke to. That's our that's the payoff line for local. Say goodbye to awkward moments. Next slide, please. Yeah, so these are the challenges mostly that we picked out in the condom programming space. Mostly, sometimes we have condom stockouts, but I think under the Condom Strategic Initiative, we have managed to go around this, where we have created a robust supply chain management by linking different stakeholders to the program, but also with issues of cultural barriers, non-availability of condom dispensers is still there, but also the stigma around condom access is still available. So these are some of the challenges that were picked out within the program implementation time. Another slide, please. Yeah, so lessons learned. Yeah, we've learned that digital spaces provide convenience to young people, both for access to information, but also access to condoms and other SRH commodities. Even the use of social media influencers is very key because it broadens the audience. At the same time, it is important to link demand creation to service delivery, because at some point we saw that there was a mismatch between demand being created and service provision. So, mapping of also hotspots is very important because it helps to drive access to condoms, especially in areas of need where people really need the condoms. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think, thank you so much for listening, and thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Petros. Thank you, Violet, for that very insightful presentation and really great results on the social media campaign. Next, we have Mozambique, and Mr. Ezidio is going to be talking to us about the multi-channel demand creation linked to last mile distribution. Welcome, Mr. Ezidio. 15 minutes, kindly.
Obrigado, Lucy. I'll be talking in Portuguese, so sorry for that.
Kindly, you can get your interpretation. Choose your language at the bottom there. Welcome so much.
Ok, muito obrigado, Lucy, mais uma vez. Eu vou falar da campanha de comunicação para o aumento da demanda do uso preservativo entre adolescentes. Portanto, foi um piloto implementado num distrito de Moçambique, Matola, portanto, no sul de Moçambique. Próximo slide, ok. Como dizia, esta campanha foi uma campanha conjunta, portanto, de uma campanha de comunicação de mudança de comportamento e criação de demanda, em que é uma parceria entre o setor privado e o setor público, que é o que nós chamamos de parcerias público-privadas, e teve o seu foco em escolas secundárias. Aqui eu referia que essas escolas são escolas públicas. Foi, como sempre, como as outras iniciativas financiadas pelo Fundo Global no âmbito da iniciativa estratégica, e, portanto, aproveitámos ou exploramos aquilo que é um ambiente político favorável em Moçambique para o uso do preservativo, incluindo a sua distribuição nas escolas. Próximo slide. Next slide. Esta campanha tinha como objetivo principal, portanto, aumentar a demanda e o uso do preservativo no seio de adolescentes, portanto, dos 15 aos 24 anos. E como objetivo específico já era desenvolver e implementar uma campanha de mobilização do uso do preservativo nesta faixa etária, portanto. Promover também o apoio para parceiros de tecnologias de informação e comunicação, acesso e disponibilidade de preservativo também nos adolescentes e jovens, para além de desenhar uma plataforma de coleta de dados sobre o alcance da campanha. Próximo slide. Foram desenhadas algumas metas nesse momento, né, em que nós esperávamos esta campanha. A nossa visão e a linha de base que nós tínhamos era alcançar cerca de 200 mil adolescentes e jovens através de todos os canais da campanha. Era, portanto, também envolver diretamente cerca de 5 mil adolescentes e jovens na campanha dentro de escolas, criar uma plataforma de comunicação integrada, interativa e de consulta para adolescentes e jovens, e a nossa meta, portanto, também na altura é se distribuir cerca de 200 mil preservativos, portanto, no âmbito da campanha. Qual foi a metodologia que nós usamos? Pensamos numa metodologia mista, que nós chamamos de caravana, que era implementação de atividades no local, né? E usando em simultâneo aquilo que são as tecnologias de informação, ou social media, neste caso. Foi a criação de materiais e mensagens aprovadas por um comitê conjunto, tanto governo e parceiros. Foi envolver os conselhos de escola, os conselhos de escolas, que é um colégio que envolve pais, encarregados de educação, professores e até alguns alunos. portanto, envolvê-los, portanto, nesta campanha para a mobilização de estudantes. E também aquilo que nós chamamos de embaixador, que são os influencers, os jovens influenciadores. Identificamos alguns que tinham algum impacto, portanto, neste distrito e foram envolvidos nesta campanha para a mobilização dos jovens. Próximo slide. Desenhamos algumas atividades, como estão ali mostradas. Portanto, já falei antes que foi necessário conceber uma plataforma digital. Pensamos nas rodas de conversa que envolvem professores e os próprios alunos sobre temas de saúde sexual reprodutiva, diagnóstico e por aí em diante. Tivemos, portanto, alguns canais de podcast online que foram lançados. Tivemos férias de saúde, foi criada uma rádio online. Temos uma revista também que foi adaptada, ela já existe, mas foi adaptada à campanha. Foi necessário fazer um mapeamento dos pontos de acesso e nesse momento também predispomos a fazer uns inquéritos no final da campanha para perceber qual terá sido, portanto, a abrangência, o impacto da vida da melhoria, além da, portanto, da produção de materiais GIEC e a criação de uma base de dados para acolher esses materiais todos. Próximo slide. Sim, criamos uma identidade visual. Portanto, o slogan, a nossa cena usa. Temos um logotipo, como podem ver, a nossa cena aqui do lado esquerdo. Há uma série de materiais que também foram criados, materiais de propaganda, portanto, tivemos camisetas, coletes, como é que chama, backdrops e por aí em diante. Foi também criado um jingle, portanto, é uma música para a campanha, e nós usamos um músico famoso moçambicano que criou uma música e essa música foi usada como jingle da campanha durante, portanto, o tempo que a campanha esteve disponível. Próximo slide. Em termos de preparação da campanha, foi preciso o envolvimento, portanto, de todas as entidades, desde o Conselho Nacional de Combate aos Suicidas, o Conselho Provincial, as entidades provinciais e distritais, como, por exemplo, os conselhos de escola que eu falei. Portanto, foi preciso apresentar o projeto a estas entidades todas para que houvesse aquilo que nós chamamos de apropriação. E só depois disso é que nós permitimos a nós próprios, portanto, a iniciar com campanha. Tivemos que capacitar, portanto, os embaixadores e ativistas que fariam parte desta campanha. Como disse antes, temos a nossa plataforma digital que foi criada para criar esta interatividade nos mídias sociais e que permite, ao mesmo tempo, preservar e criar um arquivo daquilo que foi visualizado ao longo da campanha. E foram criadas várias entidades digitais, como podem ver aí, tivemos, portanto, a nossa página, o Facebook, o Instagram, o Twitter, e tivemos também um número para o WhatsApp e as SMS. Próximo slide. Esta campanha foi lançada no dia 21 de setembro de 2023 e, como eu disse anteriormente, tivemos que envolver as autoridades locais, políticas e por aí em diante. Portanto, esteve lá presente o governador da província, o presidente do município, o administrador do distrito, para além dos diretores provinciais da educação, da saúde, das escolas, adolescentes e jovens, parceiros de implementação. Portanto, foi um dia de lançamento de grande festa em que houve um envolvimento a todos os níveis. Próximo slide. Vou falar de algumas atividades realizadas. Portanto, realizamos cerca de 10 rodas de conversa em igual número de escolas. Portanto, foi uma roda de conversa para cada uma das escolas abrangidas e permitiram, portanto, a interação direta com diversos grupos de alunos. Não? Próximo slide. Tivemos, portanto, ativações que nós chamamos da nossa cena. Realizamos, portanto, 21 ativações nas 21 escolas abrangidas, portanto, neste distrito. E os temas abordados foram vários, desde o adiamento do início da atividade sexual, informação sobre o uso correto e consistente do preservativo, para além da sua demonstração também, informação sobre os benefícios do preservativo, concretamente sobre a tripla proteção, mensagens sobre o acesso aos serviços de saúde sexual e reprodutiva, testagem, métodos contraceptivos e por aí. Tivemos lá presente, portanto, também uma clínica móvel, em que cerca de 1000 adolescentes tiveram acesso aos serviços que estavam a ser prestados lá. Próximo slide. Em termos de plataformas digitais, referimos anteriormente, foram criadas aquelas plataformas todas que eu lá mostrei. Em termos de canais digitais, posso falar aqui de alguns números, como tivemos cerca de 550 mil visualizações, cerca de 64 mil visitas no perfil, portanto, destas páginas todas, cerca de 3.300 seguidores que nós temos. Em termos de alcance digital, tivemos um total também de cerca de 550 visualizações, como posso aí dizer, né? Próximo slide. Foi realizado um inquérito, nós precisamos a realizar 3 inquéritos, portanto, que era para estudantes, que era para os professores e para os pais. Infelizmente, só conseguimos realizar um dos inquéritos. Este inquérito foi realizado de 2 maneiras, de forma presencial e de forma, portanto, digital. De forma presencial, conseguimos cerca de 750 pessoas inquiridas e de forma em 15 escolas, deixa aqui referir, e de forma, portanto, digital, chegamos cerca de 700, portanto, pessoas inquiridas. Achamos que é uma amostra representativa para o universo que nós tínhamos criado e estamos satisfeitos com os resultados. O próximo slide. Como disse, temos uma revista com uma periodicidade mensal, que é a mais jovem, que também retrata a própria caravana, a própria cena, de forma física, portanto, que é uma revista que depois foi disponibilizada em vários pontos. Reproduzimos aqui cerca de os podcasts, como eu disse, em que tivemos várias personalidades presentes, em que o foco, na verdade, é tratar sobre assuntos relativos à estratégia nacional reprodutiva e sobre a saúde sexual e reprodutiva para os adolescentes e jovens. Próximo slide. Uma rádio online que teve 29 emissões durante este tempo. Criamos nas escolas aquilo que nós chamamos de comunidades virtuais. Portanto, foram criadas 19 comunidades destas. E essas comunidades são grupos de WhatsApp compostos por estudantes e professores, onde são tratados, portanto, esses assuntos relativos à saúde sexual reprodutiva, HIV e SIDA e por aí em diante. Próximo slide. O que é que nós temos como resultado destes exercícios todos? Nestas 21 escolas secundárias, escolas públicas secundárias que foram abrangidas, nós temos cerca de 80 e foram abrangidos foram alcançar cerca de 83 mil alunos. Pelas plataformas digitais foram cerca de 565 mil, portanto, alcançados. Foram cerca de 229 mil preservativos distribuídos nestas escolas, e realçar que desta quantidade de preservativos, 13 mil preservativos foram femininos distribuídos, não é? Comunidades virtuais criadas, e tivemos o prazer de mapear pontos de acesso, não nas escolas, mas próximos dessas escolas, para que esses estudantes, quando fossem às suas comunidades, pudessem ter acesso ao preservativo. Próximo slide. Já a terminar, como lições aprendidas, listo algumas, não é? Tivemos neste exercício o preservativo como ponto de entrada e foi expandido para tratar dessas questões ligadas à saúde sexual reprodutiva e outras questões. E, ao mesmo tempo, foram surgindo outros temas sociais, temas emergentes, como o consumo de álcool entre adolescentes e jovens, a própria vulnerabilidade social das meninas. Criamos os conselhos de escolas, que vimos que é um fator decisivo, portanto, para o envolvimento dos adolescentes e jovens. Temos aqui uma relação entre pais e encarregados de educação e os próprios alunos. Foram usadas plataformas virtuais para o alcance de maior criação de demanda. Tenho aqui alguns exemplos, que é o caso da própria Masterlink na nossa cena, o Dezembro Vermelho, One Stop, One Box, o caso do Faz Bem do PLM. Portanto, são iniciativas do setor privado que nós vimos que, através delas, temos, portanto, alguns resultados positivos. E voltamos a saber que, para uma boa distribuição de preservativos, é preciso um forte mecanismo de criação de demanda. Este é um binómio que tem que andar sempre junto. Próximo slide. E para terminar, a viabilidade do uso de escolas para a criação de demanda para preservativos, através do envolvimento dos principais intervenientes no setor de saúde, tanto conselhos de escola, autoridades locais, os influencers, os próprios adolescentes e jovens. Próximo slide. Obrigado.
Thank you so much, Ezedio. Very interesting presentation. And I know there'll be a lot of questions on how you managed to get into schools and to conduct demand creation, as well as establish 19 school communities made up of teachers and students. But moving on now, we have Francis Mabedi from Malawi talking about their demand generation campaign. Welcome, Francis. Remember to continue to put your questions in the Q&A. Thank you.
Yeah, next, please. Yeah, so there I think we're just trying to present a situation of HIV in the country that led to justify why we needed the condom campaign. So as you can see, you can appreciate that the country was almost registering 13,000 new infections based on the estimates. And the adolescent girls and young women were accounting for 2% of all new HIV infections. And we recorded close to 400,000 sexually transmitted infections, and 60% of those were coming from females and 40% from males. 64% of the sexual activities for the age ranges of 15 to 24, which are the youth, used a condom correctly and consistently. So this is also based on the MPA report. So 55% of men and 9% of women used a condom during the last sex with a non-regular partner. So that's the situation of HIV and also the current time of trying to justify the condom demand campaign. Next. We noted that in country, we have raw uptake of condoms, all types, irrespective of type, that is being a free one or sexual marketed or the commercial one, or either male or female. And we also have reported data on suboptimal and correct and inconsistent use. The new HIV infections that have already presented, the sexually transmitted infections, and also the unintended pregnancies. So the aim mainly was to raise awareness among sexually active subpopulation groups to adopt a condom use lifestyle in preventing the STIs, including HIV and also unintended pregnancies. 3 targets were raised. That is to increase the number of young people and key populations who are aware of the benefits of correct and consistent condom use, to reduce those 3 elements, to promote a supportive environment for young people to access condoms for their self-protection without stigma and discrimination, because that was also one of the issues that was noted, stigma and discrimination related to condom use. And finally, was to increase demand and uptake of condoms by young people and key populations by jointly developing and activating linkages between condom promotion messages and condom to the last mile distribution mechanisms to ensure availability and convenience at the peak points. Next. We target audience and geographical coverage delivery of model. We had also did audience segmentation, and we had those audiences: female sex workers, clients of female sex workers, men who have sex with men, the transgender people, adolescent girls and young women plus their sexual partners, adolescent boys and men, discordant couples. We had to separate those because their characteristics are different, and also their way of reaching them was also different. In terms of geographical coverage, we did this in a pilot phase. We did select 3 districts with high HIV burden, and also those that are actually we are also implementing the last mile distribution initiative. We also had the 2 implementing partners that are implementing demand creation for socially marketed condoms using social media, and they targeted almost 1.4 million people with access to internet. On the delivery model, we use the mass media, but this mass media, it's localized, so to say. We have community radio stations that are covering only the said 3 districts. That was so specific, and we had the paid radio adverts. We had also recorded the programs that were done right in the communities where the initiatives were being done. We had the live interactive sessions on radio with experts in the condom programming, plus also the target audience were putting forward their issues for address. We also had to organize interactive sessions with the target audience. These were done live in the communities. We were organizing sessions with the, say for instance, the key populations where they actually found, and also the youths through the youth clubs. We also did social media, developed e-posters that were putting through the Facebook and the designated WhatsApp groups in the said districts that we were implementing. And we were monitoring feedback and also reach. We had to do precision-based with audience segmentation, looking at the various levels of interface, and also the type of message and the approach with the messaging that it deserves. On the total market approach, our campaign, we had to market or to create demand for a condom, as already said, that irrespective of that it was a public one or a socially marketed one or a commercial one. So with the same segmentation of the market, we're able to reach specific audiences with the different strata with the right type of commodity to promote. If it's maybe the subpopulation which requires maybe totally free condoms, I think we are able to highlight the same. So even in the middle class, we are able to highlight issues about the socially marketed. So, the socio-ecological model approach was used, considering that the change in behavior takes different facets. a behavior change, a person has to be looked wholesomely. We have to look at the intraperson, the ability of a person, the target audience, to conceive and conceptualize and adapt to the messages. And we also to look at the interpersonal levels, where we will look at the influencers, the peers, who can actually influence decision making of this particular person. And we also have to look at the community effect, the norms, the cultural beliefs, how they could actually affect the condom message uptake, and also try to address them. And also we had to look at the policy situation. How do we penetrate with the condom to different sects of the subpopulation? Next. So those are some of the social media posters that we produced. You can see that we are promoting both male and female condoms with the different archetypes and models. And for information, our condom campaign was called, we duped it, Wrap It Up, meaning in Chichewa, in vernacular, it was called Ichenese. Next. Yeah, so those are just a myriad of the social media posters that we generated, we created. Next. Now, in terms of the campaign achievements, we managed to have segregated the 3 districts with the reach of radio spots and jingles that we created and aired through the community radios. So you can appreciate that depending on the reach and coverage, we see that the 3 districts amassed enormous listenership. And conclusively, we can say it was about 1.1 million reach. In terms of number of people reached with the interactive radio magazines programs, we see that we had close to 700,000 number of adolescent girls and young women, and also ABM's groups reached with the direct sessions. So in the 2 districts, close to 90 groups were reached. Number of female sex worker groups reached with the direct sessions. We are also seeing that it was close to 39. Number of hotspots owners reached, because we also had to, using the social ecological model, targeting also the second level of influence, we had to reach the hotspot owners. So that was 9. Next. So in terms of linking the last mile distribution with the impact of the campaign, we see that we had a baseline of as low as 10% in some districts and as high as 25%. But when you look at the progress assessment after implementation in 3 months period, we see that the number of condoms that were distributed reached as much as almost 100% and as low as 8%, but with the mindful for the low baseline that we had. Next. Challenges: low internet access led to low bandwidth for social media platforms. The districts which we selected, internet access is very, very low, and that's why we prioritized radio platforms and also the actual interactive sessions with the consent target audience. And I think our SI was limitedly supported, and that's also the reason why we didn't do much of the activities during the implementation. Next. But aside everything, we also learned a few lessons. Some colleagues have already mentioned, but I'll just run through what we also noticed. So adolescents most of them that were born in the years 2000 coming forward, they haven't been fully exposed to messages on HIV and condom use. So home-based sex work is being prioritized by clients in urban and semi-urban areas. And we noted that this actually needed also proper targeting, because the sex work, we just clamped it as sex work, but we are supposed to differentiate in terms of the category there. And we also noted that contraceptive messages need to go together with condom messages, as adolescent girls value to prevent pregnancy more than HIV and STI. So their perception of risk to HIV and STI is a little bit lower. And multi-channel SBCC is a must, because the audiences which I highlighted earlier are fragmented due to multiple, and their consumption to information is also multiple. So one source cannot actually address. We see that the digital platform is also an upcoming innovation that we can explore, and also the interactive sessions for sensitive subject topics, they are also important. And we also learned that in just giving out information is not enough, but let the audience participate, air out issues that they concern them, and also bring out the issues that can be addressed to achieve the desired change. So that is very, very important. And much of the condoms are being marketed so socially. So with the social marketed condoms are the ones being promoted more. So I also come back to what colleagues from Uganda noted, that this is translating to misrepresent that free condoms are not trustworthy. So that also came out very strongly. Female condoms messages were most non-existent, and even in our though we have just given the general outlook of the condom progress, but the female condom uptake and the demand is very, very low. The local structures such as the community-based organizations and the youth clubs are more effective in ensuring that they also reach out to others in the community, which bring about a positive impact on sustainability. Next. Yeah, so that's that for Malawi. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Francis, for that very insightful presentation. I think I wanted to make some summary remarks based on these 4 presentations, and just some key lessons that we can learn around condom demand creation based on what has been shared and the experiences of the team. Next. So I think one of the key things to a successful campaign that has come across from all the presentations is the importance of really identifying your target population, segmenting them, and really understanding their behavior. Where do they reside? What are their media consumption habits? What are their aspirations? Because this allows for appropriate messaging and positioning of the condom messages in their minds. I liked what Uganda, Zambia, Mozambique also did in terms of hotspot mapping, so that they're able to ensure that they are distributing where the populations they are targeting are, and that they are really actually meeting the need. So that came across from all the presentation, the very great experience in terms of even audience profiling, really understanding who you're speaking to, what are their motivations, what are the barriers. And I think this is what enabled the different countries to address and to have a successful campaign. I think the other thing that has come across, we could see across, is the branding. And branding is really what connects campaign to the target audience and creates that emotional connection and affinity, so that the target population feel that this product or this service is for me, and it connects with me, it speaks to me, and they are able then to take up the service, they're able to speak about it to others. We saw that with Mozambique's Nosasena campaign, Malawi's Ichenetse, and Uganda's Get It On campaigns. And so branding is actually a very powerful technique, and we have seen it work for even behavior itself. Next. The other thing that we could note is that the teams were very careful to connect their demand creation or their demand generation campaigns to last mile distribution. This was to ensure that as you create demand, people actually know where they can access the condoms. Zambia had the digital spaces to generate demand for condoms, connecting them to the last mile. Uganda actually mapped out the hotspots. They had the condom champions that facilitated that last mile delivery of the condoms. That was very critical. Then the co-creation is another thing that would be advisable for anybody wanting to do demand generation. It's important to really work with the samples of the target population, so that whatever messages or however you choose to design the campaign, that you capture what their barriers are, their motivations, and you're able to incorporate all that into the campaign. And this enables for greater ownership and connection, sort of a by us, for us kind of thing. The other lesson that we have seen across board was the use of digital platforms, and used in various ways. I liked the app, the local app by Zambia, the use of just digital platforms across board within the different countries. And we could see how the uptake, the social media helped increase uptake of the condoms. Next. Yeah, I think the other thing I wanted to highlight was different campaign objectives require different use of different media channels, and this was clear across board. The different campaign objectives will require that you use the appropriate media. For example, if you want to increase correct and consistent condom use, then a TV commercial or radio commercial will not help. You need to build that skill by conducting condom demonstrations, which you cannot do on mass media channels such as TV. So we've seen that demonstrated across, for example, in the Mozambique campaign, where they actually had those kind of demos taking place in schools. That teaches the skill and builds that self-efficacy or the confidence to use. The other thing is the use of multimedia channels to increase campaign reach and uptake. Means that you use multiple channels, and we saw that across the different countries. The use of interpersonal communication. For example, what we saw in Malawi, because internet access was a challenge in one district, they complemented that with radio, and that helps your campaign to gain traction and increases reach and increases the potential for uptake. And I think the other last thing is the monitoring, the importance of monitoring the campaign against uptake to determine what channels are working best in meeting your objectives, and it helps you understand if there are any new barriers that you need to be able to address moving forward. So I think that those are some of the key things. I'm not sure if there was another point next. Yeah, those were some of just the key points I wanted to highlight in terms of when you want to have a successful campaign, what do you need to be looking at? And now I know we have various questions that have been asked in the chat, and the presenters have been able to address some or all of them. But if not, we've also taken note of some of the questions. And because we are out of time, we will be able to share responses from the different presenters through again the channel as we send out our presentations. Maybe I can ask just off the mark. I've seen Rosemary is here, and she was support for the SI. Maybe Rosemary, you can greet us. I don't know if she's able to do that because she's a participant, but if not, I want to welcome Kerry just to make some closing remarks.
Thanks, Lucy. I just want to give Rosemary a second if she does want to come in.
I'm not sure, maybe she's,
Okay.
as a participant, she may not be able to come on.
Hello.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, good afternoon, colleagues. Thanks for the opportunity, and very glad to see colleagues, especially from government, taking this up. I had put some question in the chat. Somehow I couldn't put in the Q&A. I wanted to know whether any of the government teams have continued to implement the campaigns and whether they were able to transition to GC7. And if not, what can we do in terms of advocacy to ensure that the campaigns are sustained and even expanded? I think since we've run out of time, I won't add much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rosemary. I think something for the countries to note moving forward. Welcome, Kerry.
Thank you, Lucy. So just as we wrap up, I just want to share my appreciation to the presenters. I think this was really excellent and really interesting as well. I don't want to keep everybody, but just to say, you know, the strategic initiatives in some ways was catalytic, you know, for countries to look at revitalizing demand generation and creation for condoms. And I hope in some ways this webinar too is catalytic in nature for the other participants from other countries who are here. And with that, I just want to welcome any of our country champions from other countries who would like to know more or learn from these 4 countries to please reach out to us at the SSLN so that we can help support further conversation on the topic and try and expand this beyond just the 4 SI countries and more broadly into GC7, into COPs, but more importantly, I think international country programs. And so with that, I just want to say goodbye to awkward moments, get it on, wrap it up, protect your relationship and protect your health, and obrigado, and goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.